One has to remember that the sex of the baby has been decided at this stage itself. Let us see how. As you know, the chromosome pattern in the human female is XX and in the male is XY. Therefore, all the haploid gamete OR produced by the female have the sex chromosome X, whereas in the male gamete sperm, the sex chromosome could be either X or Y. Hence, 50% of sperm carry the X chromosome while other 50% carry the Y chromosome. After fusion of the male and the female gamete, the zygote would carry either XX or XY depending on whether the sperm carrying X or Y fertilize the ovum. The zygote carrying XX would develop into a female baby and XY would form a male. You will learn more about the chromosomal pattern in chapter 5. That is why scientifically it is correct to say that the sex of the baby is determined by the father and not by the mother. The mitotic division starts as the zygote moves through the isthmus of the oviduct called cleavage toward the uterus and form 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells called blastomeres. The embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called a morula. The morula continue to divide and transform into blastocyst as it moves further into the uterus. The blastomeres and the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called trophoblast and inner group of cells attached to trophoblast called the inner cell mass. The trophoblast layer then get attached to the endometrium and the inner cell mass get differentiated as the embryo. After attachment, the uterine cell divide rapidly and cover the blastocyst. As a result, the blastocyst become embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. This is called implantation and it leads to pregnancy. Pregnancy and embryonic development. After implantation, finger-like projection appear on the trophoblast called chorionic villi, which are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood. The chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigited with each other and jointly form a structural and functional unit between developing embryo, fetus, and maternal body called placenta. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrient to the embryo and also removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste material produced by the embryo. The placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord which help in the transport of substances to and from the embryo. Placenta also act as an endocrine tissue and produces several hormones like HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, HPL, estrogen, progesterone, etc. In the later phase of pregnancy, a hormone called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. Let us remember the HCG, HPL and relaxin are produced in women only during pregnancy. In addition, during pregnancy, the level of other hormones like estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, etc. are increased several fold in the maternal blood. Increased production of these hormones is essential for supporting the fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother and maintenance of pregnancy. Immediately after implantation, the inner cell mass embryo differentiates into an outer layer called ectoderm and inner layer called endoderm. A mesoderm soon appears between the ectoderm and endoderm. These three layers give rise to all the tissue organ in adult. It need to be mentioned that the inner cell mass contains certain cells called stem cells which have the potency to give rise to all the tissues and organs. What are the major features of embryonic development and various months of pregnancy? The human pregnancy lasts 9 months. Do you know how many months pregnancy lasts in dog, elephant, cats? Find out. In human being, after 1 month of pregnancy, the embryo heart is formed. The first sign of growing fetus may be noticed by listening to the heart sound carefully through the stethoscope. By the end of the second month of the pregnancy, the fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of 12 weeks, first trimester, most of the major organ system are formed. For example, the limbs and external genitalia organ are well developed. The first movement of the fetus and appearance of hair on the head are usually observed during the 5th month. By the end of about 24 week, end of second trimester, the baby is covered with fine hair, eyelids separate, eyelashes are formed. By the end of 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed and is ready for delivery. Parturition and lactation. The average duration of human pregnancy is about 9 months, which is called the gestation period. Vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of the pregnancy causes expulsion, delivery of the baby. This process of delivery of the fetus, childbirth, is called parturition. Parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. The signal for parturition originates from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild uterine contraction called fetal ejection reflex. This triggers release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Oxytocin acts on the uterine muscles and causes a stronger uterine contraction, which in turn stimulates further secretion of oxytocin. The stimulatory reflex between the